Yo, what's going on, boys? It's your man back for another Five Nights at Freddy's review. And today we are coming in with the next figure in the tie-dye series. So, today we have the tie-dye Foxy. Now, this figure is the exact same, kind of, as the Freddy figure, where it's the same exact sculpt reused for who knows how many times, just with a funky paint job. Now, what I do have to say about this guy is this one gets a little bit more of a pass for some reason. I can't tell you why. This one just does not, it's not as cringy maybe, it's not as, I don't know. It feels a little bit better than the Freddy, but I don't know if it's that much better. This might just be one of those personal opinion type beats. Now, bringing in the box quick. Same as the Freddy, just a little bit of tie-dye. I think it would have been a little cool if each of the boxes had a different color. Like when they did the Easter series, how each of them had a different kind of egg or chocolate in the background. I feel like it would have been kind of cool if they did a different tie-dye mix for each box. But I don't mind. You know, what are you going to do for a $12 FNAF figures? It's the same wave. The one thing I am surprised about is that they don't show Springtrap on the back at all. Usually, I don't know if it was just in the promo shots or something, or if they just showed off Springtrap's box where Springtrap is on the back. But, you know, he's just one of those extra figures. Now, moving on, we are going in with the PaintSculpt. Like I said in the last one, the paint on this guy is pretty terrible. Like where you can see, like the teeth are really, really bad. And the eyes, it looks like it might be either a little offset or it's just way too big. Because I don't know, it doesn't look right. I feel like the eye is way too big in the middle. I don't get why they did that. But sculpting wise, this is the one where I think they worked it out a little bit better. They changed so much little stuff for that Freddy for like no reason. Like they made the shoulders a little longer that I don't get why. They made the I don't know. I don't think they really changed much other than the shoulders, but the rest of the stuff is quite the same. And it is actually mostly the same as the original Foxy. I will just say too, I'm just noticing it. I don't know if it's only on these figures, but the pieces to connect are so huge. Like they're so thick. I don't know, maybe it's just because Foxy's a lot smaller and the joints are a lot thinner. But oh my God, you got bricks on him. I don't get, like bringing in the original Foxy here just to compare. Look at how thick the joints are on that. Jeez. So, now actually moving on to something important. The paint and sculpt, which I was just talking about, which is the same. I still am not sure if this is paint or sculpted in. It really feels like, I don't even know. I can't tell. It kind of feels like paint, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's sculpted as that. I don't know. Any people that know, please let me know, because that's an interesting thing. Because that could explain a little bit why the prices are a little bit higher on these guys. They need to paint the actual whole figure instead of like usual just painting a nose and an eye or just teeth. Now, moving on to accessories. He does not have any. This Foxy doesn't come with anything. There's not much to put him with, but this is another one of those reasons why I say having a Build-A-Figure would make this so much better. Because in the older waves, it was a lot closer. I know I sometimes say, oh, back then, back in my day, FNAF figures were good. They weren't even that good back then. I will say though, a lot of the time what made it good was no matter how many bad figures you bought, you'd always get the sick Build-A-Figure. And with this one, they just don't have it. And I feel like it really takes that value away from it. So, moving on now. Looking at the articulation on this guy, which is actually pretty decent. He looks up quite far, down quite far again. Double ball joint there. So, ooh, you got some crazy looks. This, the tuft of fur is not flexible, so just be careful. I wasn't sure. I was trying to make sure. At the arm, goes up, all right, a little bit more than the Freddy, all the way around again. Single jointed elbow actually works pretty decent. And he does have the same thing as the Freddy. You can actually see it a lot better on here. That the ball peg is a double ball peg, so it moves around a little bit on the inside, and the ball actually moves itself. Which, for these figures, it really does practically nothing. I'd hate to say it. It does practically nothing for the articulation. But I just like to see when they make improvements like that. Like when they first, I think it was wave 2 or wave 3, when they actually perfected the joints going together and staying together, but still being able to come apart. That was a good day. Those were good days. And now the most we got is a slight extra bit of movement, which is quite sad. But moving on, at the hand, his hand does have some articulation. It's very, very deep in there and quite tight. So mine was backwards out of the box. So when you move it, just be very careful you don't chew up the plastic and rip the hand off, because that would suck a lot. The little bit of articulation you have on the hand, I feel like helps a lot. So having it break would suck. Like usual though, still no articulation on the hook. All these years later, I've been begging for just a swivel. With this guy, it's not bad though, because they did actually line it up so that the hook is straight. That shoulder is tight. They did actually line it up so that the hook is straight. But on some of the Foxies there, the hook can turn and move in the box, or I guess as they're putting it together. And it just does not work. And the hook will be backwards when you have his arm up. So I wish, to this day, they'd add some hook articulation. Now, moving on. At the waist, again, no articulation on this guy. Still no waist swivels for these Wave 1 figures. You think if they're going to keep reusing them, they'd make them a little better, but nah. At the legs, kicks forward a little bit again. Back just a tad. Out to the side, you get a decent amount. You can throw a nice side kick. Then, of course, you get a little bit of swivel. Single jointed knee actually works really well, like usual. Nice thin legs works well. I don't think these joints have the double ball peg, but it's still, who cares? And again, like usual, FNAF figures still ain't got no feet articulation. But with figures like these guys, it really does not matter. They got such big flat feet, it does not change the balancing. Alright, now getting on to the point that actually matters, because it's like talking about the same figure over and over again for years with this. There's not much more you can say about Foxy's little bit of chest showing and the tufts of fur. There's not much to say after you've reviewed the figure 10 times. So now, coming in for the comparisons, we'll bring in what I believe is the other version of these figures, but I wouldn't say much superior, but the superior versions, which it's literally just reused figures, just repainted a slightly different color. I think the tie-dye figures did it not tie-dye, that's my mistake. I think the blacklight figures did it much, much better. Like if the tie-dye were to do something like this, where, you have like the metal all still painted, and then it's just the rest of it, it looks like literally just a colored animatronic, this would have been perfect. Like if the legs were still silver, the hands and hook and everything, all the joints, and it were to make it have like a different feel, like these guys did, I think that would have made this wave so much better. But just straight repainting the entire thing, I don't know, I don't really like it. And especially compared, like bringing this one in here, bringing this man in, and bringing the original in, it adds so much more to have that, you know, variety in colors. Like with that Foxy, they still gave him all this, the black chest and everything. If they would have painted the inside of that chest black or anything, I feel like it would just add much more depth and value. I don't know, I feel like there's no value to this figure. It's just the same one again with nothing really done to it to make it worth it. Like I could go get one of those what are those things people put the shoes in it, the paint, like the water dip, where you just like you put the shoe in it and it dips and gets the paint on it like that. You could do something like that and you get the same result with this figure. That's why it just doesn't feel interesting. But moving on now, getting the many Foxies out of the way. They definitely haven't done it to Foxy as many times as they've done it to Freddy. So now we'll move on. The other comparison here. Our most recent, I'd say, of this reused Foxy is this figure right here. And I think you guys understand my opinion on this one. I am not a very big fan of Pirate Foxy. Get him out of here. I knocked over half my display trying to pull this guy out. I had him literally all the way in the back. That's how bad this figure is. I never could have expected needing him again, so I'm sorry to myself. And now, just bringing in our other tie-dye figure. I think these figures look pretty alright together, but that's kind of it. Unless you're really looking for something that sticks out like crazy on your display, I don't think there's much to do with these figures. And I gotta say, the worst part is, this is about 4th or 5th set that I'm gonna have of the original 4, because I'm gonna go and buy the rest of these, the other 3 figures I think it is. It depends on how easy Springtrap is to get, but I will probably get the rest of these figures to do the review, because I know recently I've only been buying like 2 figures of the wave and then being like, oh, this is garbage, but I gotta give it a little more of a shot. So thank you guys so much for watching. That's about it for this video. I don't know if there's not much more I could say. Freddy, Fazbear, Foxy. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next review. Have a good one, guys.